Howdy, folks. Widgett Walls from neatcoffee.com here, back again with another Wayhomer review. Here's how it works for the uninitiated. I have just left the cinema, which is over there, and I've seen a film, if you could call it that, and I'm going to try to talk to you about it on my way home. And today we are here to talk about Avengers Endgame. Holy mackerel. Okay, synopsis. Okay, synopsis is this. I can't talk about the synopsis without revealing anything about Infinity War. I must talk about Infinity War to discuss the synopsis of this film. So if you have not seen Infinity War for some reason, you should stop right here and you should go and do that. I mean, I won't wait because I got to drive home, but you know what I mean. You can come back to this video later. There you go. So in the wake of the snap that wiped out half of all life, the survivors of Thanos' snap basically are trying to either move on from what's happened or undo what's happened, or some combination of both or neither. And with, you know, varying degrees of success. So I mean, that's basically the synopsis. It's the synopsis. The synopsis is everything, all however many 47 films or whatever it is, has been leading towards this 51. I don't know how many films it is. I've lost track. And so you have to have an ending to it, and this is it. And the resolution of Infinity War actually happens, one way or another. That is the most synopsis I've ever given, and I apologize, but if you've already seen the film, you probably understand why I'm having trouble trying to encapsulate it in any form or fashion. And I don't necessarily want to give you anything because I don't want to give anything away. Because despite all of the fan theories and the leaks, I haven't even been paying attention to all of it because I've been trying to protect myself from it, but there are a lot of surprises to be had, to be certain. So there's your non-synopsis. Okay, so I thought about it on the way out of the theater, because I was walking very slowly, because I was trying to process what I've seen. And if you've seen my Infinity War review, or my attempt at reviewing it, then you know that I was a bit out of my head when I was doing it, because I had just seen Infinity War, and there was a lot to process. Well, I'm just going to tell you straight up, the only difference between then and now is the fact that A, this film is even more complex than Infinity War, and 2, I don't know if I've just processed it better, or maybe it's the new medication, but I actually feel like I'm making more sense than I was back then. But here's what I decided I could say. Because again, I don't want to necessarily give you any hints as to what may have happened. I will say a couple things. First, I've made it known multiple times on the site that there are films that I would like to have seen in their proper historical context. And by that I mean, I wanted to be there the first time audiences saw Boris Karloff open his eyes in the original Mummy, right? Because I bet they just wet themselves, because back then, I mean, you watch it now, and we've had, what, by this point, 80, 90 years of additional scares and evolution of the horror movie and the thrillers and whatnot. But back then it was completely new. They didn't know what was coming. Same thing with Night of the Living Dead. There are just certain moments that I wish I could have gone back and seen in their original context, so I could have gone into them not knowing what they were, right? Watching Night of the Living Dead and not understanding its importance, being able to go into it completely fresh, and having that kind of evolve around me as time progressed, which time does. Now, you may think me crazy, and full stop. I mean, that has nothing to do with this review or this film, but you may think me crazy in regards to what I'm about to say. But presuming that we do not blow ourselves up in the next 5 minutes, 5 years, whatever, specifically these two films, Infinity War and Endgame, but also the entire run of the however many it is, 77 Marvel films up till now, people later, there's going to be some guy, probably only 80% as ugly as I am, in some kind of flying car with probably a more impressive camera rig, who's going to be driving home at some point 100 years from now, and is going to be saying that he wished he could have been there to have seen these films in their original historical context. Because I said, I believe at the time, that Infinity War, there's never been a film like it, ever. There's no context. I mean, there's context, but there's no precedent to it. And in the commentary for the film, the Russo brothers said as much, that in trying to write that film, they had no blueprint to go by. They had no template, because there had been nothing before it. And this is equally as precedent-setting a film, because it is amazingly, okay, just like the Russo brothers who did Winter Soldier, okay, just like Winter Soldier was different and yet not different from Civil War, which they also did, Captain America 2 and 3, these films, Avengers 3 and 4, are similar and not similar at the same time. The major thing they have in common is, I have no idea how they did what they did. And I'm not saying that it's like, at the time when I was coming out of Civil War, not only was I amazed because they had taken the series that was so terrible, it made me swear off Marvel Comics, buying them, right? And I really haven't bought any since then, because it just was so bad. I know many people like it, but they're entitled to be wrong. But, as always, I say, don't take my opinion on it. Go look at the facts, read Civil War for yourself, and reach the same conclusion all on your own. Now, what was I saying? Oh, the similarity between Infinity War and Endgame is, it's so big, and so much is happening, and so much has happened, and they're paying off so many things, that, like, you didn't even think maybe that they would ever come back to anything having to do with that one thing. You may be thinking of one of them or not, but there's a bunch of things that they circle back and pay off. Not that they necessarily even needed paying off. Not that they were, I mean, just in the same way that, my understanding is, if I remember correctly, Joss Whedon threw Thanos at the end of Avengers 1, why not? And now, here we are. So, the films, they're so dense, and so much is happening, and they are so different from anything that has come before, even within the MCU itself and their 86 films, it is incredible. The Russo brothers have testicular fortitude, like I cannot even explain to you. And the other thing that I think, maybe this is the hallmark of their style, I don't know, but at the end of all of these, right, at the end of Winter Soldier, and again, spoilers for all these films. If you haven't seen these films, I don't know what to do for you. But at the end of Winter Soldier, when S.H.I.E.L.D. collapsed, I was like, now what? What are they going to do now? And then at the end of Civil War, when the Avengers collapsed, I said, now what are they going to do? At the end of Infinity War, same thing. And now at the end of this, that's the only thing I'll tell you about the ending, is that I'm left with the same feeling. The same feeling of being completely stunned and gabberflasted beyond belief, and that I have no idea what they're going to do now. And it is an odd feeling, just because there is so much to process and a few things I still don't understand about this film. But I do know that it was amazing. And I do know that they managed to, just as before, like with Civil War, where they had, 19 characters or whatever it was, and everybody had something to do, they've managed to give everyone something to do in this. To the extent that it's crazy. Because they don't even do that in the comics. They don't even give everyone something to do in the comics, and yet there they have absolutely no budget. They have unlimited space and time and everything else, and usually no editorial staff to control them. So even then, they don't give everybody something to do. But in the world of cinema, well, they didn't even have to do it in the world of cinema. They've just decided that that's what they're going to do, and they've done it. And I'm just kind of amazed, because it is, and I will say this too, and then I probably need to stop, because I will just start repeating myself even more than I normally do in these things, and then, and then I'll drive, I'll hit Mississippi eventually, and nobody wants to do that. Anyway, so what I would say is, it is everything for me, okay? And I think for a lot of other people. It is everything you wanted but had no idea how to, like if I told you, tell me what you want from this film, you would say something probably completely different from what the film actually is, and yet I do not feel dissatisfied. And one thing I said from the beginning is, when you have endings, it is very hard to make them satisfying. Especially when you have a run like this where, I mean, I've cared more about these characters in the movies than I ever have in the comics, probably because they kill them and bring them back like every 6 months. Thanos just died, and now he's got a new #1 coming out. Who the hell cares? I hope the Russo brothers just take over Marvel Comics and make good comics. But the point being is that, anyway, all of that to say, it is a completely unprecedented film. And I'm going to need to see it again, and probably sooner than I can process it, but that's just how it's going to have to be. Now, should you see it on the big screen? Absolutely. I saw it just digital, no Dolby, no IMAX, no 3D. I've given up on 3D anyway. And that's sufficient. Just see it on a big screen, as big as you possibly can. Yeah, do that. Cup-wise, I mean, I don't know what else to do other than to give it 5 cups, simply because it was stunning. It is a stunning achievement. And I know the Russo brothers say they're done unless they get Secret Wars. I know Kevin Feige watches these things. Give them Secret Wars. Give them anything they want. Just let them do it. It'll be good. Anyway, so that's it. That's all I got. I hope it was enough. I feel numb almost with what I've just witnessed. So I mean, that's it. That's your Wayhomer for Avengers Endgame. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for still wanting to watch these things, even though I've been sick. I'm trying to get better. And actually the film was very therapeutic towards that. So, anyway, come see us on neatcoffee.com when you have a moment free. And until next time, we will see you on the Wayhomer Reviews. Bye.